Hey there everybody, this is Ed and welcome back to another edition of Bagel and Booze. We got a brand new year. Happy New Year. We got rid of our box of cheer, so I got some new beers to try out. Box of cheer did us pretty good for our reviews. We had some good stuff out of there. We had not good stuff out of there. Some lumps of coal, if you want to call it. But we did what we could. We're back from a little bit of a hiatus over Christmas break. Was away in Italy. Maybe should have did a Bagel and Booze on location over there, but pretty much just drank wine. So, but I guess wine's still booze. So, but we're back here. We're ready to start doing some beer reviews, and our first one up that we got today, we've got coming here from good old Delaware. It's from Dewey Brewing, and we're going to be doing one of their secret machines. I think I've talked about these before. These are their smoothie beers. They're various combinations that they have, flavors that are going in. So we're going to go ahead, we'll get the Beercam, and we'll get the beer set up, and then we'll go ahead and start the review. So as I said, our first beer for the year comes to us from right here, home state, good old Delaware.
Magically whisked away to Delaware. Hi, I'm in Delaware.
And it is from Dewey Brewing, and it's one of their secret machines. This is their smoothie beers. This one that we got coming up, it is their Neapolitan. It is raspberry, almond, chocolate, and vanilla. I don't know. To me, it kind of sounds a little bit like a milkshake. And you know, if we got a Bagel and Booze, we probably got a the more you know moment. So, as our first beer that we got here is kind of like a milkshake, I figured perfect thing for our more you know moment, and just kind of figure out, you know, I know what milkshakes are, but you know where they come from, how we get them, what have you. So, impart a little bit of wisdom before we get into drinking our beer and reviewing it. And come to find out that milkshakes as we know today were not always like they were. Back in, it was 1885 when milkshakes were kind of first invented. They were alcoholic drinks, kind of like eggnog, with whiskey, eggs, and they were served as like tonics or treats. We fast forward a little bit to the early 1900s. Malted milk had just been invented, I think, around like 1897, late 1890s, sometime around then, as an alternative to having milk in drinks, malt powder. Soda fountains are starting to kind of spring up around the Americas, and with these beverages that come into play, there were these malted milk beverages that were popular, but they were made by hand. And it was obviously a little difficult to do that. They were, hand-shaken concoctions. Hamilton Beach in 1911 invents the drink mixer, not the blender, but a drink mixer, and these become staples at soda fountains. And we fast forward about another decade, and the popularity of these drinks continue to increase. And one problem that you have with these malted drinks is malt, when it gets in cold and you're making it with ice or cold milk, it clumps up. So there was a Polish-American inventor named Stefan Poplawski. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly. He invents the first like blender. He basically sticks, obviously what we know. It sounded like, metal blades, and put it in the glass container. And this handled the problem of the malt clumping. This obviously sets off, makes easier to make these drinks. So in that same year, with that, I guess, to go hand in hand with that, milkshakes, believe it or not, were invented through Walgreens. Walgreens had a very popular beverage that was their chocolate malt beverage. And there was a guy by the name of Ivan Pop Colson. I guess Pop, Soda Pop, I don't know. Um, and what he did was he takes 2 scoops of vanilla ice cream and he adds it to the company's chocolate milk. This is Walgreens' own ice cream, so they kind of hold it lock, stock, and barrel with that. And Walgreens also had the distinction of kind of popularizing these malted milk beverages. So he adds this in, mixes it up, and lo and behold, the modern milkshake is born. Popularity obviously takes off. Remember that ice cream's only been around for a little bit. Ice cream cones were debuted at the World Fair in 1904, and then we get into the 30s, and milkshakes continue to grow even more in popularity with the advent of Freon cooled fridges, and they take off for there, and they become a staple that we know that they are today. Gone from that alcoholic tonic treat to a tasty treat, non-alcoholic. You can add alcohol to them. Adult flavored milkshakes are great. A little tidbit also in there is there's actually 2 national holidays for milkshakes. There's one for chocolate milkshakes and there's one for vanilla milkshakes. Chocolate National Chocolate Milkshake Day is on September 12th, and National Vanilla Milkshake Day is on June 20th. So if you didn't know, there are there's holidays for everything that's out there. So there's your more you know moment. So we'll go ahead, we'll crack open the beer, get it poured, and we'll start the review.
I drink and I know things.
So we got everything poured, and as you kind of take a look on here, the one thing with these smoothie beers, they are full of debris, for lack of a better term. They are not clean, crisp beers. The one that I had for it was one of their like fruit ones. That thing was filled with particulates, and it just they are very cloudy. They are very thick drinks. Again, this is why I liken it off to a milkshake. You can kind of see there's a bunch of stuff floating around in here. Move that up into the camera. Messing up there, but you can kind of see. Get a little bit there, and you can kind of see there's a whole bunch of chunky type of stuff in there. Adds to the flavor. So we'll go ahead. We'll give it the old sniff test, and we will go ahead and give it an old taste test too. I also had to bust out my big old glass because one of the tall boys. So right off of the bat, I do get all that flavor. Definitely smells of the fruitiness, the chocolate, the raspberry, the vanilla. I get that kind of ice cream type of smell, which is what we want to go through. It's just looking at the top of this thing, I kind of see all the goofiness that's in there. So hopefully that translates into tastiness. And there's just stuff just kind of floating all throughout this beer. So let's give it a taste test and see how it comes out. Okay, so it's got kind of a sour side of things, unlike I do get the sourness off of this. Unlike some of the other ones that I've had, particularly the one fruit that I had where it did not taste anything like beer. I do get a little bit of kind of the beer taste off of this, I guess, because this is a little bit more sour than the other ones that I've had. The sourness in those, if they were completely masked in there. But first taste, you don't get any of the floaties that they just blend in whatever. But I do get I guess it's the raspberry. The raspberry is what's giving me the sour. That to me is the predominant flavor that I get coming in here. There is, I guess a subtleness of chocolate. Yeah, but there we get a little bit there in that swig. I do get a smoothness off of the beer, which again it's a smoothie beer. And as I sit here and look, I continue to watch stuff kind of come up at I guess through some of the carbonation, bring up some of the lighter floaties. Got no better term for them, but This is definitely a decent beer. This is one of their, we'll put it on the positive side. Um, it's not as ice cream, but I guess I wasn't really, I was hoping for that, but it's not marketed as a ice cream type of stout porter or what have you, as I've had for some of the other things that we've done on here. But um, you know, off of the smell, I definitely get kind of that nut smell that's in there. Um, a little chocolate, but definitely from the taste, the raspberry is forward. There's a creaminess that comes out from the vanilla that's in there, and that chocolate, if it's there, it's very subtle. Nothing overpowering, except really kind of the raspberry. It's a little more forward, so it's almost kind of like a raspberry sour, a little bit more than anything, with a little bit more complex overtone to it. It's not just straight up raspberry sour like what we sampled out of the box. It's here. Overall, definitely a good, decent beer that we have here. Very easy to drink. I don't know what else to say. I guess gotta give it a rating, and I'm not finding really anything wrong with this, so we will give it a 5 out of 5. There's not much that I can find bad on this beer. My smoothie. I guess if you want to argue, you're drinking something healthy, so not too bad. So we'll go ahead and let me take another sip or two, and then we'll do a good old chug test.
Once it hits your lips, it's so good.
Okay, so as you can see, we have drank down a little bit. We still got a healthy bit. This is a large pint glass. It's not the normal size. It's kind of a big old one. So we'll go ahead. What's going to be interesting to see is the sourness, to see if that changes. That's where I'm really going to think where I may struggle to finish this off, is the sour side to the beer. So let's go ahead and we'll give it the old chug test. It's chuggable. Definitely not a clean looking glass after we're done. But, whew, as I said, whew, now, taking that all at once, you definitely get a very big flavor profile. The raspberries there, kind of the bit of the sourness is there, but I definitely get now a lot more kind of coming off of the chocolate that comes into play. So I do get a lot more kind of flavoring that comes in. It's not just that straight up kind of raspberry, flavoring that I get. There definitely is a chocolate raspberry taste that I have now that comes in off of that. Ooh, we got very tiny little bit left. But, again, overall, decent quality beer. Good flavor profile. So, with that, this is done. I'm done. We're done. And I thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you for another edition of Bagel and Booze. Thanks, guys.